Hey trail runners, this is Stacy Cochran and I am going to do a video fly-through narration of the Mica Mountain Marathon, which I participated in with the Tucson trail runners yesterday here in March of 2017. So a couple things I want to point out to begin with. First, I want to point out in this video there's a parking area at the base of the Mica Mountain Ascent, which begins at the Douglas Springs Trailhead. And there's about enough room for about maybe 20 cars to park there. So there's a pretty good amount of parking, although it can fill up on a busy weekend. So a little bit about the Mica Mountain Marathon and Mica Mountain Ascent. Mica Mountain is located in the Rincon Mountains over on the east side of Tucson. And here, I'm just going to read a little bit about the Rincon Mountains. The Rincon Mountains are a significant mountain range east of Tucson in Pima County, Arizona. The Rincons are one of 5 mountain ranges surrounding the Tucson Valley. The other ranges include the most prominent, the Santa Catalina Mountains to the north, the Santa Rita Mountains to the south, the Tucson Mountains to the west, and the Tortolita Mountains to the northwest. There's a pass, Reddington Pass, that separates the Rincon Mountains from the Santa Catalina Mountains. And in the Rincon Mountains, Mica Mountain is the highest point in the Rincons. I've seen the elevation marked on maps as 8664, so 8,664 feet above sea level, and the actual marking at the top of the run was at 8666. Strava estimated the elevation at about 8,606 feet. So Strava typically tends to short you a little bit on the elevation. So it's about 8,666 feet or 8,664 feet. So it, is the highest point in the Rincon Mountains. So a little bit about this run with the Tucson Trail Runners group. A couple things you want to note if you're going to be doing this hike or trail run. Plan your trip well. You have to be entirely self-sufficient. The ideal time of year to do this particular hike or run would be after the snow melt, so in early spring, but before it gets too hot. So it has, in my opinion, a pretty narrow window of time that you could ascend Mica Mountain if you want to avoid deep snow up on the top of the mountain above 8,000 feet, and yet avoid no water at the lower elevations and thus risk dehydrating. As I said, we did this in March of 2017, and so conditions were about as ideal as they could be. It was a little on the hot side. It reached about 95 degrees down in the desert yesterday as we were finishing up, and so dehydration did become an issue that had to be contended with. So when I started this run, I carried with me a Camelback that had a 72-ounce bladder on the back. I had 2 Nathan handhelds that each hold 18 ounces apiece. And then I carried an additional Sawyer mini water filter, and it's a squeeze filter. And I went ahead and filled up the squeeze bag with 12 ounces of tap water. So I was carrying about 120 ounces of water when I started this at 7 a.m., just after sunrise. I went through all of that water by mile 21, and so had I not had the filter to filter out water at Douglas Springs, I would have been really unhappy and unpleasant the last hour and a half of this run. So in the video, we've just reached the summit of Mica Mountain and am now continuing back down the mountain. In this Google Earth satellite video footage, you're seeing a lot of snow There was a little bit of snow up there in March, but nothing like what you'd see in this, like what you're seeing in the Google Earth video footage. And so, again, it might not be something you absolutely want to count on. A few of the runners with the Tucson Trail Runners group are a little bit more savvy and seasoned than myself. Knew there would be some snow there, and so they packed a little bit of snow in their water bottles coming down. For me, that's risking it just a little bit too much. So I carried 120 ounces of water with me. As I said, by the time we got back down to lower elevations, the heat was pretty intense, and I had gone through 2 peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, a protein bar, and half of a block chew, as well as all the fluid. And so I had just about everything I could possibly carry with me, nutrition and fluid-wise, on a trail run. Now, if you're doing a hike, you can obviously carry in a little bit more water. But this is not a run that should be taken lightly, or a hike that should be taken lightly. You need to plan it well. You need to plan to be self-sufficient. You need to plan to contend with, depending again on the time of the year that you go, deal with possible dehydration. The total mileage of the ascent and return from Mica Mountain was 27.4 miles. So it was 13.7 going up, 13.7 coming back. On the way back down, in the video footage here, you can see I've stopped off at Douglas Springs. There was a little bit of water in Douglas Springs, but not much. And in about another month, there will be no water. So by April, mid-April, unless we get some unusual rain here in the desert Southwest, there's not going to be much water, if any at all, at Douglas Springs. But there was enough there that I was able to take a dip and cool off, and also filter out, I think it was 36 ounces of water to finish the last hour and 15 minutes to an hour and a half of the run. Had I not had that, it would have been, as I said, kind of unpleasant coming back down the last stretch, because it was getting hot once you're out on the exposed rocks coming down the Douglas Springs Trail in this stretch that we're seeing in the video footage here. It's pretty intense. I stopped off once more. There was an even smaller watering hole here. Again, probably in a couple of weeks there's not going to be any water there, but I stopped off there and just took a quick dip. I didn't need to refill my handhelds at that point. I just took a dip to cool off. I was simply getting overheated. The total run time, I started at just after 7 a.m. and finished right around 3 p.m. The video footage here, which is kind of doing the Superman dive down towards the end, is a result of the fact that the battery on my phone and the backup power pack battery that I had connected to my phone had died. My Garmin GPS died at like 5 hours. So I was using my phone for most of the Strava footage that I collected. But even the phone with the backup battery pack only lasted about 7.5 hours, or a little over 7 hours. So for me, the total run time was exactly 8 hours on the nose, including the 2 separate swims that you saw there, one of which was, I think, probably closer to about 20 minutes with the hike down to the springs. So here I am returning to the parking area. As I said, you can see that there's a few cars parked there if you want to check out the Douglas Spring Trail. Of course, you don't have to go all the way up to Mica Mountain. You can do any part of the Douglas Spring Trail. I'm going to pan around here and show you the surrounding mountains. So we're looking at the Santa Catalina Mountains to the north of Tucson in this Google Earth footage there. Panning around to Reddington Pass. Again, Reddington Pass is a pass that separates the Rincon Mountains on the east side of Tucson with the Santa Catalina Mountains on the north side. And there's a jeep road that ascends up to the pass and over to San Manuel. Panning back around to the northeast side of the Rincons where we did our run up to Mica Mountain. And then finally panning around to the south, west, and further to the south, I think it pops up here. You'll see the Santa Rita Mountains to the far south of Tucson, and then out to the west, the Tucson Mountains. And those are the surrounding mountain ranges that encapsulate the Tucson Valley. I hope this video was informative and interesting to you. As always, comment, like, and subscribe. And thank you all for watching.